Aloha Algebra 2, here we go. Chapter 6. Here we go. Chapter 6, clickety click. Okay, we're going to start here with, I got to get my new videos on there, but we got our notes right here, guys. All right, and we're starting with our 6-1 notes. Boom, right there. All right, and here are my 6-1 notes. So let's get after it. All right, we're dealing with 6-1 with roots and radical expressions. Okay, our objective is to find the nth roots. Now I have this on the next page, so I'm going to go a page forward so we can introduce this a little bit. For example, let's do something that most of us probably know. And most of us probably know what the square root of 25 is. But the way we're going to ask these questions is we are going to ask, what are the square roots of 25? Now remember, if it's a square root, there's actually an imaginary 2 there. There's no number there, and we call that the ditch. Okay, if there's no number in the ditch, then that means there's a 2 there. And if I was to set up an equation, and we want to set up equations whenever it's asked, hey, what are the square roots of 25? We're going to say, okay, what x are the square roots of 25? Now, if I was able to solve this, I would square both sides. Okay, going back to maybe some of our Algebra 1 days. Okay, right, you square it, and I would get x squared. Remember, those guys kind of cancel it out going to Algebra 1 days. And I would get this expression right there, x squared equals 25. And what would you say the answer is? What could x be to get 25 as your answer? Believe it or not, it could be 5, because 5 squared is 25, or it could be -5. So it's actually a positive and a negative possibility, and that's what that guy right there says. If n is even, if that number in the ditch is even, then you actually have a positive root and a negative root, okay, for that type of situation. Now, let's go ahead and do one more before we go on. What if I said, what are the roots of 49? And I have to say, I'm sorry, what are the square roots of 49? Well, square roots of 49 would be that. And if that was the problem by itself, the answer would just be 7. But it's saying what are the square roots? Well, then that, when it says what, we're going to set up a little equation like x equals. We're going to square both sides, and we get that. And then what would work, class? A 7 and a -7. Why? Because it was an even root, an even number in that ditch. Okay, now let's just go one more, and that'd be, whoops, not x, but what are the cube roots? What are the cube roots of 8? Cube roots of 8. Now you have to have that 3 there. Now if it's asking what are the cube roots of 8, then it's x equals, and instead of squaring both sides, we're going to cube both sides, and what cubed would be 8? And it's only 2. It cannot be a -2, because a -2 times a -2 times a -2 would be 3 negatives, and your answer would be -8. But it's 2 times 2 times 2, and that's what gives us 8. That's why if our n is odd, you only have the one root. Okay, and so let's go ahead and take this a step further, because some of these can be a little bit more difficult. For example, this one right here. A lot of us might not be able to get that right off the bat, and it's asking cube roots. So if it's cube roots, remember, we're just going to get one answer. Okay, but what's a cube root of 0.008? What the what? Well, there's a way we can do this in our calculators if we're not sure, to help us out. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and hit math, and we're going to hit that number 5 button. Okay, we're going to hit that 5 button. Why? Because this is just going to work for all the possible scenarios. Now, it's a cube root, so we're going to put a 3 there in the ditch, and then we're going to come here, and we're going to put that 0. Whoops, let's go. We're going to put 0.008. Okay, and that gives me my answer. And my answer would be 0.2, so here I go. Okay, that's, whoops, not negative. That's just an answer of 0.2. Okay, that's it. All right, and then you can do that for all these. Now, these are all cube roots, so you're just going to get one answer. Now, if I was to put that into the calculator, I would get -10. Okay, that's that answer. And then what about 1/27? Now, I could put that into the calculator, but this one's a fraction. And whenever you have a cube root of a fraction, it's really just like you take the numerator and denominator separately. So if I'm doing 1/27, right, I could set this up like this if I wanted to, right? You don't have to do this for each one of these, right? Cube both sides, you get x cubed equals 1/27. Well, you have a 1 upstairs. Well, what cubed is 1? Well, that's just 1, right? Okay, and then you have a 27 on the bottom. 27 is 3 times 3 times 3. So it's be 3 cubed, so it's 1/3. And if you were to do 1/3 times 1/3 times 1/3 3 times, you get an answer of 1/27. And that is right, the real cube root of 1/27 is a third. Now, let's go ahead and take it to fourth roots. Now, fourth roots can get tougher. We probably need our calculator for that. But what's the fourth root of 1? Well, the fourth roots of 1 are 1 and -1. Well, how do I know that? Because 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, and -1 times -1 times -1 times -1 is a positive 1. Remember, it's a even root, and if it's an even root, you could have a positive and a negative. Okay, now this guy here, you probably want to put that in your calculator. I will show you how to do it one more time. We're going to come here, we're going to hit math, we're going to hit that number 5. Okay, and then it's the fourth root, so we put a 4 up there in the ditch, and we come here and it was 0.0001. I think that's how many there were, right? Yep, 3 zeros after the decimal and 1, and then we're going to hit enter. What's my answer? It's 0.1, but you can't get tricked because it said here an even, right? An even root. So we'll say that's answer to number 1, the answer to number 2. Ooh, and it's a negative. Oh, snappity dappity. Well, if it's negative, you don't have a possibility. You cannot have a negative in that root, and I'll show you right here. If it was positive, it would be 0.1 and negative 0.1. But for this particular situation, and you're going to see it, there's no way to get a negative because you have an even amount. If you have an even amount of something, your answer is always going to be positive. Okay, we'll show you right here. It's going to say no can do. Right? No can do. All right. So that's something important to notice too. So there's not applicable. No answers for that guy. And then our last one would be 16 over 81. What the heck are the fourth roots of that? And I'm circling like that, like it is the answer. It's not the answer, but what the heck? 4, I need 4 of something. How do you get to 16? Well, that's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. How do you get to 81? That's 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. And remember, since it's a fourth root and that's even, it's both of those would be my fourth roots. And you can actually do that in your calculator. So I will show you guys, all right? Let's go ahead and clear that. Let's go ahead and math again. We'll hit 5. We're on fourth roots. Okay, and you can type in your fraction. What was it? It was 16 over 81. And then if I hit enter, I get some crazy 0.66667, but I can always math frac. Math frac is math enter, and let's turn it into a fraction. And there it is right there, 2/3. You can see it in my little calculator screen, okay, you guys? And so that means it's 2/3 and negative 2/3. Just don't remember the negative case when it's asking for an even root. Okay, now we have to take this a step further. Hopefully that was okay. And now we bring up some stuff that you've been doing since your Algebra 1 days, all right? Now this is not asking for the roots, right? It's not asking for the roots. It's just asking us to simplify. So if I simplify that, the number one most important thing is what number is in that ditch? And if there's nothing in the ditch, what's there, class? There is a Niban. There's a 2 in that ditch, okay? And so if you have a 2 in the ditch, well, we break this up a couple of ways. One, you ask yourself, do you know what the square root of 16 is? I know. The square root of 16 is 4. So wow, that means that can come outside of that guy. And then I think the easiest way to do these is whenever you have variables, you take that guy right there and you can see if it's divisible. Can you do 8 divided by 2, class? Well, sure you can. What's 8 divided by 2, class? It is 4. So then guess what? That's just 4x to the 4th. That's it. And that would be the square root of 16x to the 8th. Okay, that's it. Let's go ahead and do another one because do these get tougher? For sure they do. Let's go to our next screen. Okay, well, how do I do that bad boy? Well, that's a cube root, right? That's a cube root of a to the 6th, b to the 9th. Now, what did Mr. T say? Mr. T said all you got to do is take that 6 and see if it's divisible by 3. Can you do 6 divided by 3? For sure I can. So it's a squared. Can you do 9 divided by 3? For sure I can. So it's So it's a squared, b to the 3rd. Boom, that's your answer. If it's divisible by, it means the whole thing comes out. Nice and easy, Japonesey. But what happens? Oh my gosh, these are still nice and easy Japanese. Now, why am I saying it's so nice and easy Japanese? Well, this is a fourth root of x to the 8th. And the reason why I'm saying that is because 8 divided by 4 is 2. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Boom, done. Done. But hopefully at home, you're saying, well, Mr. T, what happens if it's not divisible, right? What happens if it's not divisible and all these guys are, what the what? So we're gonna do these kind of quickly, and then I'm gonna throw up some tougher ones, all right? Because we need to get to some tougher ones. All right, let's simplify that bad boy right there. Do you know what the square root of 81 is? Because right, that means there's a 2 there. Square root of 81 is 9. 4 divided by 2. Boom. Dunzo. Man, so the next quiz is going to be this okay? Kinda, sorta. What's 12 divided by 3? Well, that's a to the fourth. What's 15 divided by 3? That's b to the fifth. Dunzo! Next one, 12 divided by 4. That's, x to the third. 16 divided by 4. Dunzo! All right, now let's get a little crazy. What happens if I have the cube root of 27, a to the 10th, b to the 9th, and c to the 11th? All right, what if I have that? All right, well, first off, you ask yourself, what's the cube root of 27? What times what times what gives us 27? Okay, and you could use your calculator for that. Hopefully you're okay. But a 27, right, that breaks down to what? A 9 and a 3 and a 3 and a 3. So you have 3 3s. Well, if I have 3 3s, that means the cube root of 27 is 3. Okay, and then we go to that a to the 10th. Well, 10 divided by 3, I can't do it. So I've got a little trick to make these okay. All right, can you do 10 divided by 3? No, I can't, Mr. T. So you hold up a finger. Okay, can't do it. And that means we're going to take away an a. If I take away an a, I get a to the 9th. What's 9 divided by 3? Oh, I can do 9 divided by 3. That's a to the third. Now, how many fingers am I holding up? I'm holding up one finger. That means I have one a that's left inside. Poor little a. All right, that's what you do for each one of these. Can you do, let's do the b to the 9th. Okay, 9 divided by 3. Can I do it? Yes, I can, so it all comes out. Didn't hold up any fingers. Let's go to the c, though. How do I do the c? It's 11 divided by 3. Can you do 11 divided by 3? I can't do 11 divided by 3, so I hold up one finger and I take away 1. And I go to 10. Can you do 10 divided by 3? I can't do 10 divided by 3. Can you do 10 divided by 3? No, so I got to hold up another. There were 2 things I couldn't do. I couldn't do 11. I couldn't do 10, so now I'm 2. But now I'm at 9. Can I do 9 divided by 3? I sure can. So it's c to the third, and it would be c squared. Why? Because I have 2 fingers up. And then the most important part of this problem is that is not the answer. You must remember whatever number is in the ditch, it better go there. And then that is the correct answer. Okay, guys? Let's do a even harder one. Okay, just to make sure everybody's okay. Let's do the fourth root of 81, x to the 7th, y to the 12th, and z to the, let's go 21. Okay, and first thing we do is we deal with that number out in front, which is the 81. Do you guys know what the fourth root of 81 is? Well, what times? Well, let's go 81. Trees down to 9 and 9. Tree. Oh my gosh, I got 4 3s. Well, if I have 4 3s, that means the fourth root of 81 is 3. So that whole thing comes out. Okay, and then we deal with the 7. Okay, x to the 7. Can you do 7 divided by 4? I can't do 7 divided by 4. Can you do it? I can't do it. So we hold up one finger and then we go to 6. Can you do 6 divided by 4? That is, it does reduce, but it doesn't reduce beautifully. So I hold up another finger. And then you go to 5. Can you do 5 divided by 4? I can't do 5 divided by 4. Can you do 5 divided by 4? No. So you put up another finger, then you go to 4. Can you do 4 divided by 4? I can. So that means it's an x to the first. How many fingers am I holding up, class? I am holding up 3. So it's x to the third. Okay, and then we go to y. Can you do 12 divided by 4? Sweeties! I can do 12 divided by 4. That's 3. It goes in exactly 3 times. So booyah. Then we go to the z, 21. Can you do 21 divided by 4? I can't do 21 divided by 4. If you can't do 21 divided by 4, then we hold up one finger and we go to 20. Can you do 20 divided by 4? I can. You can. Sweet. 20 divided by 4 is 5, so it's z to the fifth. I have one finger left up, so it's z to the first, stays on the inside. Is that my final answer? No! You got to remember the most important thing, and that is the number that goes in the ditch. What goes in the ditch, everybody? It is a fourth root, so it better be a 4. And then that is your final answer. Okay, guys? Now, there's only one way that these problems get a little bit tougher, so let's do it, okay? What is the square root of 50? X to the 7th, y to the 8th, z to the 9th. Okay, now if this is my problem, I said square root. If I said square root, that means there's nothing in the ditch. If there's nothing in the ditch, there's really something in the ditch, which is a Niban. Okay? Oh, I don't know what the square root of 50 is. Do you know what the square root of 50 is? No, so then we got to break it down a little bit. Well, 50 is, what is that? That's 5 times 10, and that's 5 times 2. So I have a 2, a 5, and a 5. Oh, I got 2 5s, right? 2 5s makes 25, and the square root of 25 is 5, so a 5 comes out. But I only had 1 2. So if I only had 1 2, guess where that 2 is stuck? That 2 is stuck on the inside. Square root of 25 was 5. That's why the 5 came out. The 2 is no friends. So it's got to stay at home, can't come out to play. All right, and then we go to the x to the 7. What is 7 divided by 2? Can't do it, hold up that finger. Then we go to 6. What's 6 divided by 2? 6 divided by 2 is tree, but I have one finger up, so that x stays. And you obviously don't have to write the 1 up there, okay? Then we go to the y to the 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4, so I'm donezo with that guy. And then we go to z to the 9. 9 divided by 2 is 1. 8 divided by 2 is 4. But remember, I had a finger up here, so if I had a finger up here, that z stays. Is that my final answer? Believe it or not, it is your final answer, right? Because I don't have to put a 2 there if it is a square root, because there's always an imaginary 2 there. Bingo! Hopefully that's okay. If it's not, I will see you in the AM. All right, let's go. We got 2 more pages to go. Man, and I don't even have to go over any of these because these would just be all practice problems, okay? And these are actually more okay than the ones we just did together. So let's check out this last page here. Remember, you can hit pause and try some of these guys and plug them into your calculator and see if you got them right, okay? Okay, this one's a little bit different. This goes back to like the beginning, right? And we're going to solve each one of these guys. Okay, well, how do I solve each one of these guys? And it says find the 2 real solutions. If you notice, every single one of these are even exponents. X squared, x to the 4th, x squared, x to the 4th. So how do we solve these guys? Now we're going to kind of go backwards of the way we started. And the way I would solve that is that's a 2, so you square root both sides. And what do we do when we square root both sides? Well, we have to remember if it's an even root, you got to put a plus or minus. What's the square root of 100? It is 10. Boom, that guy's done. Okay, let's do the next one. Now, if it's a 4, the way we get that x by itself is we take the 4th root of both sides. Boom. But whenever I take an even root of both sides, you better remember the plus or minus. What's the 4th root of 1? 1 times 1 times 1 equals 4. So there it is. Booyah, that guy's done. All right, now this guy's a little bit different, right? Because it's got the decimal, but still it's an even root. So we're going to go x equals plus or minus the square root of 0.25. And if you're not sure, you can put some of these into your calculator, but hopefully you get more and more familiar with it. If that was a 25, the answer would be 5. Since it's a 0.25, guess what the answer is? It is 0.5. Okay? Going back to like your 8th grade days when we would move that decimal. All right, and then the last one's a fraction. Fractions can be a little bit tougher, so let's look at it. It's plus or minus because it's an even root, the 4th root of 16 over 81. And the best way to do fractions is you do the top and the bottom separately. What is the 4th root of 16? What times what times what times what gives me 16? 2! 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 gives you 16. So it's x equals plus or minus 2, right? Get rid of that up there. And then 81. What times what times what times what gives me 81? 4 times. Okay, and it would be a tree. So that's 2/3. And if you weren't sure, yes, you can plug that into your calculator. I showed you at the beginning of this lesson. But that is it for 6-1. Not too bad if you ask me. Make sure you're using our little website here as much as you can. Aloha's. I will see you in class.